of 2020.
Firstly, Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you're well. Would have been nice to have started with some more positive news, wouldn't it? But listen, we've been doing this for 9 months, since March. 40 tasks. There you go. Look at that. So we're more than attuned to doing this, and I look forward to kind of setting more of these next year. I've got some ideas for some interesting stuff. Maybe to get you out, maybe to think more kind of about technique and stuff. But anyway, so first and foremost, if you want to look at all of the galleries, so ashamed to say the last one I did was Hope. So what I've done is I've gone through and I've added, as I would have done each week anyway, I've added some of your images to the gallery. So we've got 40 galleries to correspond to the 40 tasks. Sorry, that's probably going to hurt your eyes doing that. And I thought what I'd do with this review, it's just nice to kind of go over as more of just the whole kind of 9 months or since we started doing this as an overview of what we've done. Maybe you'll kind of pick up on stuff that in terms of techniques that you've learned or new things that you've tried. It's also a nice chance to see other people's. So I'm not going to kind of go into each one and kind of review as I did each week for each task, but I thought it'd just be nice to kind of to jump in and have a look. And then I've kind of just picked a few highlights from a few people this year that have kind of images that have really stood out to me, and they've been images some kind of contextually that have kind of captured some of the feeling and emotion of the year, and others kind of technically that have captured some of those tasks that we've done as well. So to find the Flickr galleries, you've got to search for Flickr. Other search engines are available. So searching for Flickr. So I've signed out, so I can show you how to kind of go in and find somebody or something. So here you can search for photos, people or groups. So we search for the one and only James Goodison. And then we need to go for people. So we've got people and groups. I think it'll probably come up, it'll say that I'm in this Creative Remedies group anyway. But here I am, a Flickr member. Oh, there's no groups. So I'm a Flickr member. So I click on there. Click James Goodison. And we're in. So what first comes up is the photo stream. And then you see along here there's albums, favourites. So groups is obviously the group that we're involved with, or those that have been taking part have been putting photos in here. So what you're going to do is you can click on galleries, and then you'll see all of the galleries that I've saved. So these are all related to all the tasks. There we go. As I've been kind of going through these, I've noticed kind of 4 or 5, I guess, different categories to put some of these tasks into. So firstly, we started way back in March, crazily enough. And these first couple of, I guess, tasks were all around kind of documenting your time, as it were, then. This was something completely new, and I don't like to use the term unprecedented because it's banded around loads, but I guess in a way it was. We've never seen anything like this. We're forced to stay inside, and thankfully Pete got in touch and said, let's continue this. Wouldn't it be great to kind of keep in contact with people, set some challenges each week, and just see how it goes and keep connected. So as a starter, it was something I'd never done before. So I thought, we're all in this together, so let's kind of just capture what it's like being in lockdown, as it were. Then, so there was some great ones, and again, you can go through and listen specifically to each kind of review. So this was quite an interesting first task. A lot of stuff kind of inside, but a lot of kind of reflective, and I mean kind of reflective looking out. Especially kind of these ones from Kat and from Steph. Really kind of nice, and just kind of capturing some of the kind of unknowing, I guess. So it was quite spooky, wasn't it, initially? But again, that kind of sense of hope and I guess light as well does, and we covered some of those as well in these. So it was capturing life at home. It was room with a view, which was kind of another play on imagine we are stuck inside, which we were. So we're shooting out and we're looking at the kind of things outside. So there were some very kind of clever ones here. Some nice use of filters and effects. Some kind of really well composed ones. The guy's one there, and Steph's one with the reflection. So they were great. Loved that one again. The composition by John, and Vanessa's. I mean, this was one of my early, really kind of standout images again, just because of composition and what it kind of captured. And that's that thing of kind of the street photography or documenting something. Boom, just capturing something as is, and you've got loads of elements there that can kind of draw you in, lots of kind of layers to it to interpret, so that was great. So we did those, so they were kind of the start. They were about you and about documenting what you were doing. The same with the play there and the kind of the self-portrait stuff. And then we kind of moved on to a bit more kind of themed sessions, and a bit more kind of looking at certain techniques. But the themed stuff with things around kind of monochrome, and I know more for my own sanity really, just kind of started for me to just try and make the videos a little bit more kind of light-hearted, and to still do some of that kind of, we are doing a task and this is the lesson, but let's kind of try and have fun with it, and hopefully that kind of spurred you to kind of maybe look at things a bit differently or feel a bit freer to have a play around with stuff. So things like Paint It Black, which was us looking at kind of monochrome, and starting to kind of think about lights and darks and contrasts. Really great one. I really loved this one. Not just, as I say, for messing about in the video, but for the results that you kind of got. And it was again about, it was still early, so we were still thinking about how can we capture some of that stuff inside. Some of you setting up lights, looking at where light is. So it really helped with kind of composition and things like that. And they were the same in some of these, so we looked at kind of water and reflection. And as we went further on, we were looking at kind of colours. So they were kind of interesting themed tasks, as it were. Things like reflections, they were quite nice again. Something that we would have done maybe when we were meeting up in Pyramid. I would set you those challenges for that morning. So things like going out and trying to look at how to capture reflections, how you choose your composition, what you include in that as an image as well. So they were really useful and interesting. Things like Land of the Giants, Another World, they were more kind of open to interpretation. As you know, I quite like setting tasks like that. So they were really fun. And then we kind of went more into kind of techniques. So we were looking at things like this, so From the Floor, which encourages you and to get your camera quite low down, and we're kind of shooting wide, but we're getting a lot of this, the line of the floor that draws us into that image, and it's a really kind of really fun technique. As I say, I apologise to Nancy because it does involve kind of getting low down. But you can sit on chairs to do that. It's still quite fun to do. So from the floor was quite fun. We did things like the shoot through as well, which is a really kind of fun technique to do. So you're using these natural barriers to create the frame to draw the eye in. And again, there were just some great images each week. I loved how they were all, they're all unique, they're all different, they're all personal as well, and you can see styles coming out. And this is typically of Steph's stuff, the kind of the shot on the tilt, which those of you when we review at the end of each session normally at Pyramid, you see those. So you start to see some of the styles coming out for people. We also looked at my brother set one, which was great. He's a photographer in London, so he set one around light and encouraging you to look at kind of how to capture light or what light looks like within your images. No light, bits of light, so through doorways and things like that. Some of these beautiful kind of more abstract stuff. So that worked really well. As I say, the monochrome, we did blur the other week, which I thought was really interesting as well as a technique. Movement, which was another one. So again, they're all things that you would class as being techniques of photography. And that's to kind of challenge you to think about, I'm taking an image here, what can I do to make it a bit more interesting? Or how do I capture movement and make it interesting? And it's about challenging yourself as well with those things. So that worked really well. And then and then there was some kind of conceptual stuff. So we did movie posters, we did album covers, we did book covers. Again, for you to be able to think about actually a finished image. So how what would the text be like? So what would I capture something for Psycho or for Beauty and the Beast, Alien, The Iron Giant? Great just to kind of really get those cogs ticking and thinking about, things like, that's such a great image, and you could see that being a movie poster or a book cover, and that was the challenge. So really, just again, each week I was just really pleased with what you came back with, and it was so nice to kind of see them. You set these tasks, and I think, wonder what is that. Is it too hard, or are people going to get that? But full credit to everyone for just having a go and trying them out. So we did stuff around poetry as well, which was quite interesting. Another World again, which was more kind of looking at using plastic bags and other things to create alien world. So that was about kind of cropping your images a bit more. Something old, something borrowed, something new, something old, something borrowed, something blue. So again, it's all around kind of them being kind of interesting conceptual ideas that are really open to interpretation, more so than any of the other stuff. It's completely up to you then what you come up with, as I say, for book covers. And again, they came out really well, really interesting stuff. I love that one from Nancy about lockdown, the new norm. It just hopefully kind of helps keep you writing and helps kind of challenge yourself to look for things, and that's what it is about photography. I always say about, you can know all of the settings and have all the gear, but it's the eye, and it's about seeing things and then capturing them, and that's the key, and that's the beauty for photography for me. So that's what those kind of things did. So they were more the open challenges. So yeah, 40, which is crazy, when I think about coming up with the ideas each week and thinking, can I make them accessible? Can they be done with using just a phone, or can you kind of still challenge yourself if you are, quite a pro photographer and you've got all the gear? And so that's what you get, I think, from each task. You see the difference in that. But it's also great that you can't really tell that now as well. So, when Steph had kind of started putting using effects on her phone and things like that, it just takes things to another level, as someone might sit there and edit on Photoshop and Lightroom to get that effect. So that's hopefully what this has done, is it made it each week feel like you could take part. And they've been fun, really fun doing, and we will continue to do so. So I'm going to move on to just a little kind of, without this going on for too long, just some of my personal favourites. Kat, the one I chose that I really loved of yours was an image when we did light. So it was a task for light, and this was Light as a Feather, as you'd done, and it's a beautiful monochrome image of, I'm assuming, your daughter, but I don't want to assume, so it doesn't really matter. But it's such a beautiful image, and the light really is the light that comes from the girl's dress. It's the white dress, and it's such a beautiful capturing that moment as the swing goes up. So it is that kind of moment of being as light as a feather up there. And there's a lovely kind of, just an innocence to it. I think that's what you titled as well, because of the look out to the left and away. And that's what always makes a great photo as well, is when the subject is kind of looking out of the frame, so out of the image, and that works really well. Beautiful shadow, and again that the kind of the grass, the blank light contrast draws us up to this, and I think as well in terms of your composition, because it's a swing as well and we're going up, it's nice to see it in kind of towards the top third of the image. So in terms of composition, it works really well. So I loved that. Steph, this was one that we took when we were able to meet up on the 21st of August, which was great. We were able to meet in small groups, and it was a chance for us to kind of walk around town, and again we were doing some street photography, so we were documenting what life was like, and you captured and uploaded this really stunning image, this street scene of people queuing to get in the bank. I guess it was the time before it was mandatory to wear masks, so there's a few wearing masks there, but love this, because again, the great thing with street photography is that one person that notices the lens. Otherwise, street photography is just capturing life as it kind of goes, but this is what really makes it for me, is that kind of draws you in more as a viewer to be part of that image. It's a really powerful technique, and it just, it looks like almost kind of like we're in there as well, because there's kind of like the blur of rain almost on a lens, which I think works really, really nicely. So it kind of makes you feel like you're there as well, and in the monochrome as well, just is great on street photography anyway. I think I like the way it flattens the image in a way, but it makes more stand out, if that makes sense. So I think it really works so well on this. It's such a great, and it was great that you got loads of kind of comments and people were asking, "Oh wow, when did you take that? And what was your, how would you conceptually, how were you thinking about how were you going to take that photo, and how did you achieve it?" And so that's brilliant, and testament to a great image then as well, isn't it? John, again, you've taken some as everyone has, you've taken some fantastic ones, and you've got, your own style comes through as well, and I love that I could probably just kind of put these images up, and I think now, those regulars would kind of guess, oh, that's a John image, that's a Jeff image, that's a Nancy image, and that's great. Again, testament to you all developing as photographers, and it'd be rubbish if we were all the same, or we all had the same camera, we all used the same settings, we all got the same picture. I mean, yawn. And this was from the floor as we did that technique. You took some great ones of this. And again, I chose this because a sign of the times almost. This is now closed, this gym. And I love this kind of image of positivity that kind of is almost trapped behind here. And we're kind of looking up at it as we normally would with kind of billboards and stuff, but it doesn't have that effect now. And I think because of the monochrome element of this, but also because it's bringing it back to the crap on the floor almost, it's bringing it down to that level. So conceptually, I thought that was a really clever image and really well done. Good job. Paul, again, as with everybody, you went out there and got some great ones. We know from looking at your stuff, street photography is kind of your bag, so you really have a really good style with that, and we can notice and start to kind of say, oh, that's a Paul image, which is really nice and testament to your work as well. This was in the Reflection series, and quite a few people have done stuff, kind of the reflection through shot windows, which is great, because we get this transparency of both in and out, and it can create some really interesting effects. I love this because, again, I chose it because it is kind of very pertinent to the times, and we've got the masks in the window, but we've got you in the window as well, almost kind of donning the mask there, so you're playing with that kind of out and in reflection really well with that image. So it does work really well. Yeah, it's just a great shot, and we know it's you. Vanessa, this was early on, but there were two early in that. The room with the view, which I kind of showed early on, of your shot looking out, which said "Be happy" at the bottom, and you've got the guy on the bike and the woman with the pram and the sunset. It's just setting, great image. But I love this one as well. Sucker for a bit of a light trail, just again because it demonstrates technique, and you've got to have certain things in place and do certain things to achieve this. But I liked it more so again because I don't know whether you remember back then, the roads were so quiet, everywhere was so quiet, and this really captured that sense of something there, but not that something's been taken away. It's almost like you've taken the car out of that, which is what the trail photography does. So I thought it was really clever and just worked, as I say, for that moment in time was a really great shot. Jeff had done quite a few for Another World, and I liked this again because it's the stylistic element of setting up a shot. So we did a bit of this. It was more about styling a shot and the composition. So you would have to think about things like lighting, where things were in the foreground and the background, and how that composition came together to create an image in its own right. And I loved this one just because you can tell it's kind of the Dalek in there, because we've got, again, you've used reflection to get that element in the background in focus, and our foreground is out of focus. So it was just, all in all, was a really clever composed shot, and worked, and you get this kind of brooding sky, which is almost, again, that kind of alien world. So I think it worked really well. Guy, I loved this guy. I just thought it was so clever, and again, as with Jeff's previous one, it was the time and thought that went into the composition of this. How can you take a photo of a movie poster for The Invisible Man? And again, loads of people probably would have come up with different stuff, but this is just brilliant, because you've taken such time to put all this together, and it is, you could just be a still from the film, and that's why it works so well. The great movie posters like that just tell that story straight away. Boom, Invisible Man. So I loved the care and attention that went into that, and I get the sense of fun that you had doing that, and it really pleases me that you kind of thought, oh yes, okay, well, how can I do that? Overcoming those kind of obstacles to capture the image that you want, and that's key as well, and that's sign of a of a good photographer and someone that takes passion in their work. So I'm really pleased with that one. Nancy, you did a few of these water reflection ones, and I think they're absolutely beautiful. We'd set this up to have kind of so the reflection of light and objects through glass. Basically, that was the kind of the setup for that the task that week. So you could put things in the glasses. You could use different glasses, but again, it's the composition of the whole piece. The lighting that we've used and how that kind of casts the shadows and how it draws light through the water. The colourings that you've used in the water, which is really clever. Again, these aren't them flat images. We get different levels in the composition almost, because we've got these. They're all similar style glasses, but we're drawn. And they're drawn away from the background, and we're drawn to them because of the elements of colour within them. And look at the reflections that they cast as well. So it was, and again, stylistically, we've done this kind of setup before, so it's almost like styling a shot rather than just going and shooting something. So you're taking care to think about your composition, your lighting, and I just thought it's a great shot. And lastly, Brian, who has been sending images through, he's been keeping an eye on the tasks and he's been taking part in the tasks, which is great, and loved this one in terms of kind of the conceptual design. This was for the album covers, so we did, the one I gave out was Madonna's Like a Prayer. So the idea was that you could either recreate it, put your spin on it, or do something that resembled that, or what you thought that could look like maybe nowadays, or just how you would interpret it anyway. So we came up with this great shot, all filmed at home in a little studio. Just loved the way it was lit. It obviously changed the words, so he's got mum on his fingers there. So again, there was a nice take on that, yeah, I just thought it was a really well kind of composed image, and that's something different in terms of thinking about how can I set my shot up, what do I want to achieve, almost kind of knowing what the end goal is and then working back to kind of set that up. So getting the lighting right, getting the composition right. You obviously have to crop everything to fit that, and then as well putting all the text on and stuff, so making it look like an album cover. So yeah, I loved that. And again, each week kind of adding stuff to the group, so thanks for that, Brian. So that's it. I know it's pretty long, but hopefully interesting for you. Interesting. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. It's nice to kind of just round off the year in a way. As I say, great to look back and see all of those tasks. Brings back good memories for me, and it really has kind of helped me gain some focus and a lot of happiness knowing that you're doing the tasks, you're uploading, you're commenting. Like I say, I genuinely feel really humbled to have been able to do this and still do this with you guys. So we'll see you for the next task. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.